This week we read the second portion in the book of Exodus. It's called Parashat Va'era. And in it we read about 8 of the 10 plagues that God brings against the Egyptians for them oppressing the Jewish people. Moses comes and he tells Pharaoh that he's going to redeem the Jewish people, that he has to let the Jewish people go. And as we know, Pharaoh refuses. God hardens Pharaoh's heart. And now we have all these plagues that come. When Moses arrives and he tells the Jewish people that he is there to redeem them, they change from passive, people oppressed, people under servitude who were unable to speak, unable to emote. They were silent. We understand there's this teaching that speech was in exile, that they couldn't speak, they couldn't describe what they were experiencing until Moses comes. And now they start to moan and they start to groan and they start to cry out to God to help them, to bring them out, to look at them, to be with them. They understand God is with them and God will take them out. We also read about Pharaoh suffering under the plagues, begging Moses to go and entreat God and plead with God to take away the plagues. So we have this language of crying out, this language of pleading and entreating. These are languages of prayer. And our sages teach us there are between 10 and 12 different ways to describe prayer, a little bit like how Eskimos have different words for snow because it manifests itself slightly differently. So there's a different word to describe snow. We have different words to describe our prayers, whether it's singing or appealing or crying out or screaming, whatever these words are, there are different ways in which speech is redeemed from exile and we use it to communicate to God. Back in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were created, all the potential for the trees and the grasses and the herbs and all of those things were in potential. And it took Adam and Eve praying for rain. And when the rain came, then everything that was in potential was able to be actualized. It was only through prayer that the rains came, and therefore everything that was in potential was actualized. So too, perhaps there's a message here for us today, that there's a special mitzvah to pray in times of distress, that our troubles appear to God in heaven only as we present them to him, that we have an active role to play in the resolution of our suffering. So it takes our crying out, it takes our beseeching, it takes our relaying to God our situation, and not that God doesn't know it, but the mechanism is set up from the Garden of Eden where Adam and Eve had to pray for rain, for the actualization of the potential to be manifest. So too we have to pray to God to allow the blessing, to release the blessings, to actualize the potential of all the goodness that God wants to give us, that we have an active role to play, and that is the role of praying. So may we be blessed with the capacity to pray, and may God listen to our prayers and bring about the resolution of suffering and the return of all the hostages and no more death in our world speedily.